Another good movie, Lady Bird. We've all seen it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, Dean, you start us out.
Oh, well, I just, boy, even more than the last movie we talked about, I was mightily impressed with this movie. I always, of course, everybody knows I've been a huge Greta Gerwig fan, particularly since 2010. I know she's been in movies before that. She probably came around the scene around 2007 or so, but when she was in Greenberg in 2010, my eyes were open to her talent, and I really felt like I'd never seen it's been a long time since I've seen a performer like her. I don't know I can't put my finger on what it is I love about her, but I love her I guess there's a certain vulnerability to her performances, to her best performances that I really respond to, and then also a surety of personality too that's in her performances, and I feel that's here in Lady Bird, which it really kind of plays like a prequel of some sorts to her movie that she wrote with Noah Baumbach, Frances Ha. It's really just about a young girl from Sacramento, which is where Greta Gerwig is from, pining for another life. She feels trapped in Sacramento. It doesn't excite her as a place of culture. She wants to go to New York, and she doesn't exactly know why she wants to go to New York. She's just dipping her toes into the acting world, acting on stage at her high school, at her Catholic high school that she's about to graduate from, and so she doesn't really have an acting urge quite yet. She just does it kind of on a whim, I think. And she's also dissatisfied with her family life. Her mother, played by Laurie Metcalf, quite wonderfully, is a child of an alcoholic who holds her daughter to kind of unreachable standards. I think. I think she's annoyed a little bit by her artistic bent, and it's something that in her world of practicality, it doesn't really mesh. She wants her to become something a little bit more straight. She's Metcalf is a nurse, a psychiatric nurse, and her father is played by Tracy Letts in an incredibly understated but a very, very funny performance. There was just something about everything that Tracy Letts said that I just thought was hilarious, and so he's not getting talked about quite enough in the supporting actor thing, but that's the case with Tracy Letts always. I mean, when is he going to get a nomination? He's kind of the good cop in the good cop bad cop kind of relationship with the parents, and she has an adopted brother and a kind of a portly best friend that she has some problems with. And she's also trying to navigate her sexual life for the first time. So this is a movie that I guess, some people are kind of, now that it's being talked about as a front runner for Best Picture, some people are kind of deriding in a way because they think it's a small movie, and that small movies shouldn't win Oscars, I guess. Small, good movies about people that are incredibly well acted and incredibly well written and directed. I mean, the direction in this movie is fantastic. That's something that people aren't talking about quite enough, is that this is a technically adept movie. This is not just a movie of drab scenes in rooms, blah, with people arguing or whatever. It's not that. It is a fast-moving movie, very, very fast. The editing in it is superb. Never is there a moment where you're like, can we get on with this now? It just gets on with things. It just does it. And the photography by Sam Levy, who also shot Frances Ha in black and white is colorful. It is not plain. And again, this is another movie where everybody is good at it. Lucas Hedges, who's also had an incredible year. You know, he was nominated for supporting actor for Manchester by the Sea last year.
Right.
And he's parlayed that into being in both Lady Bird and Three Billboards, and he's terrific in both.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing that he's in two of among the best movies of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's good. He absolutely deserves to be cast more. It's just, you know, it's when it was over, I said that was perfection, and I mean it. It is perfection. There is nothing wrong with it. Zero.
Well, okay.
I can find no problems with it. You know.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because you echoed a couple of thoughts that I have. I was listening to our friend Chris. Has a podcast of his own with another one of my friends, Mark. And they were talking about Lady Bird, and they both really liked it too, but they brought up a couple of things, one of which is that they think it's being overpraised because it's too small of a film to handle all that hype.
When did that start?
I know.
A few years ago. Because what happens is, in one sense I do understand it, because what happens is you talk about it so much because of all this Oscar buzz. It goes on for months and months and months, and people watch the movie, and they should approach the movie as the delicate thing that it is. It's not David Lean, you know. So I think it builds up. This movie it's a best to be discovered, instead of to come with so many expectations. I think that hurts most movies. But I do find that whenever I vote for my favorite movie of the year, I appreciate the intellectual aspect of any film. I can talk about the intellectual aspect. But if a movie reaches me like emotionally, I'm hooked. And that's usually my top movie of the year. This movie, I was just a puddle of tears all the way through it, because it was so smart and dead on about relationships between the parent and child. And what was most interesting to me is it was written from a perspective of someone that realizes that at that age she did not understand what her parents were going through.
Yes.
But she's writing it from the point of view where now she does. And it is a terrific love letter to those parents. It really is.
Yes.
And every character is so beautifully observed. Saoirse Ronan is just terrific.
It gets better and better.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does.
And another thing that Chris and Mark brought up, they said the movie that this is most easily comparable to, which I think, most people that have that reference will probably relate it to Juno. But Juno is very Juno. I completely see it. But Juno is very precious. Juno is very postured. And as a result, it is not as sincere as Lady Bird.
Yeah, Juno has a snarky quality to it. It's kind of a snarky look down on these people kind of quality. I don't think that this has that.
This one doesn't have it at all, and I expected it to. That's what was most wonderful about the movie, because I almost expected it to be a little too clever. It would admire the lead character's, kind of her how she stands up to authority and how she's trying to be a rule breaker. But no, I mean, Saoirse Ronan, she's so naked in the movie. Like, even when she's doing something or saying something, lying about something that she shouldn't, you can see right through her. You could see that she's thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not going to get away with this.
Couldn't the performance, in one sense, her performance be, speaking of Greta Gerwig, wouldn't you compare, I see the Juno comparison, but no, that's a great word to describe her performance. It's very naked. Like the scene, I mean, when she goes to college, that first night, away from her parents or whatever, the first night of freedom, if you will, and just how that goes totally wrong. I mean, totally wrong. But I want to say something else about. I think that her performance. You talk about when she knows she's lying and things like that. That reminds me of Jesse Eisenberg in The Squid and the Whale more than Ellen Page in Juno in that sense. I think that's. I think it's about I mean, the comparison is the lead character is a girl that speaks. That supposedly speaks her mind and thinks that she knows everything about life, and she talks back to the authority figures in her life. I mean, the comparison is obvious, but Greta Gerwig did not write another version of Juno. What she wrote is a lot more honest, and I think it'll live a lot longer because if you notice, nobody talks about Juno anymore. Everybody loved Juno that first week, but nobody talks about it.
I did not fall in love with Juno like everybody else did, and so I
fell in love with it. I mean,
but you realize, that people did, and those same people are saying, "Oh no, that movie sucks." It's the Avatar of independent film. Everybody loved it that first week, and nobody does it.
To a certain extent,
you're something about Saoirse Ronan's performance, her character, Lady Bird, though, and unlike Ellen Page in Juno. She's saying everything you really want her to say in this movie. The scene where the woman comes to talk to her about abortion and everything. You're really hoping she says that. You're really hoping, and not only does she say it, she says it better than anyone ever could. It's just such a great delivery. I was on the floor when she said that.
There's a lot of funny stuff in it. I mean, there's a lot of funny, wonderful things in it. I love she and Lucas Hedges. For some reason, I remember the scene where they're sitting trying to pick out a star for themselves and and trying to name it. For some reason, that resonates with me somehow. And then, of course, she gets involved with Timothy Chalamet, who plays kind of a rocker kid, intellectual rocker kid that goes to her school and that she gets a crush on. And it's all treated. It's just very real. There's just not a false moment in it. None of it feels written it just you could just tell it's coming from a place of true devotion, I guess. And there's you just know it when you see it. And
Lois
I think
Smith is very good. Lois Smith is very good in it. I don't mean to throw that out there, but she is very good as the nun in the movie.
Yeah. I liked her reaction to them, putting that "Just Married to Jesus" sign on their car. And that was with the little drawing of Jesus on it. That was funny. Just little details like that. The scene where when she turns 18, she goes out and buys a scratch off, a Playgirl, and a pack of cigarettes.
Yes.
There's
a scene of the movie where somebody's father has a pillow that says "Golfers don't die; they exist on greens" or something. I have that pillow. Like my father has that pillow, which was pretty amazing. That very same pillow. And it's so smart about people. You could tell that it was directed by an actor who studies human behavior. Because it's got human behavior down. Because even when she's assertive, see, the thing with Juno, anytime that she spoke, you thought, oh, God, she's so smart for her age. But whenever Saoirse Ronan does that, it's quite possible she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Timothy Chalamet. Is that his name, Chalamet?
Yes.
Because she thinks he's so cool because he doesn't believe in money and all this kind of stuff. And all he's doing is just speaking bullshit.
And
Greta Gerwig.
I burst out laughing
when he's started speaking.
knows that about the characters because they're young. I mean, they're allowed not to know anything about anything. They're just figuring it out. They're not teenage Einsteins. And the parents have foibles as well, but it's so deeply empathetic towards all of them. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie, and so far my favorite I've seen this year.
I think it's the front runner for Best Picture right now. I mean, I really, it's a kind of a movie. I mean, it's really not that I look at Rotten Tomatoes, but currently it's on Rotten Tomatoes and it's got 0 bad reviews. Of course, I don't know if Armand White has chimed in on it. He's usually the spoiler in all of these when they come around. But it's universally loved at the moment, and I know a lot of to go back to what we were talking about earlier. I know a lot of people in the middle of the country when these movies come out around Oscar time. It's very frustrating for people to be in parts of the world in which these movies aren't there yet. They're on a certain release schedule
pattern.
that is trying to foment some kind of excitement for the movie, and therefore they hold off from releasing it like in a 2,000 theaters all at once or whatever. And I think personally, it's the wrong thing to do. I think they should be released more widely because we've still got freaking Thor Ragnarok in 4 theaters at a 16 theater complex.
I think that Lady Bird and 3 Billboards has been released widely. I mean, if they came to Lakeland, Florida, I'm pretty sure they're in most places. But when it comes to smaller character movies that are nominated for Best Picture, this should not be lumped into those. It is not smarmy like Juno. It is not a sitcom like Little Miss Sunshine. This is a really great movie, and whatever size you want to classify it as. So I don't think it hits any of the pitfalls of any other movie that's been nominated in Best Picture over the past decades.
Movies of this type, at least in scope.
Yeah, coming of age.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
So go see it. Go see it, guys. Really.
It's terrific. I mean, it's really, really terrific. I'm so proud of her. I absolutely, I hold Greta Gerwig very close to my heart, and I think a lot of critics feel the same way. And certainly after, I mean, even with something like Nights and Weekends, which she co-wrote and co-directed and co-starred in, to me, that's an early signifier of her talent, and it's really just kept on growing and growing, and to this point, and I think she's just a major talent, and I'm glad finally she's getting recognized. Here it is, almost 10 years later, and or 10 years after she's gotten into the industry. And it's high time she could
be a major director. I mean, there's also the notion that maybe this is so good because it's so personal. Maybe this is the personal story that comes out of her. It would be interesting to see how she directs someone else's script. But I'm sure we'll get to that point. And she's a major talent behind the camera, and it's important to note that great directing is not camera tricks. Great directing is having a kind of acute sensibility for human behavior, for the human moments, and how to depict those visually. And the screenwriter, the flip side of that coin is how to kind of depict that in the written word, in the text. But she is the director. She's a full-fledged director with this movie. It's not she's just not shooting her script, plain Jane, and she's really giving life to the images and the behavior of the characters within those images. So, bravo to her.
Yes,